Way back in 2007, 2008, we had what was basically a coffee table, a giant interactive coffee table, which was the OG Microsoft Surface. It wasn't running what you're currently known as Windows 10. Windows 10 was not out yet. In fact, it was pretty much like Windows 8, but not even that. It was its own thing, which later on it turned into the Microsoft Pixel Sense, which you can actually look up right now. I think they still even make them. Fast forwarding a little bit more or towards 2012, we started getting the Surface Pro, which kind of refreshed the entire Surface lineup. And then fast forwarding years later, we got a bunch of devices from laptops to, the Surface laptop to the Surface Book to just a whole bunch of things out there, the Surface Hub 2. And then this year, obviously, we also have the Surface Duo, as well as the rumored coming out soon, not yet, the Surface Neo, which is another folding device. So Microsoft's brand of Surface has always been a premium, relatively expensive brand of devices, not just related to the Windows ecosystem, but related to Microsoft as a company. And then we also recently, just about this week, we got the Surface, the Go line thing. So we got the Surface Laptop Go, and then we also got the Surface Go 2 earlier this year. There's a lot of cheaper devices, not just premium, but cheaper signature devices from Microsoft. So the question I have here today for all of you, what's next? What do we want to see more for the Surface lineup? That's what we're here to talk about. Starting with improvements, I want to see improvements in the Surface Pro. Rewinding to way back when Surface first released, Surface Pro had multiple covers. Surface Pro didn't just have the type cover that you know, and that's type cover, the signature cover with the backlight and fingerprint sensor. We had something called the Surface Pro music cover. Basically what that did was it allowed you, if you were a DJ or a music person who makes music, you could use the built-in features of that new cover and literally drag up your audio levels and just everything. It was really cool. It was something that I'm surprised that they didn't continue doing right now. I know it was the early days. They were testing the waters. Surface was at a loss as a company, but now it seems like they should bring that back. They should bring back that kind of, I call it the DJ cover, but it's really music cover is what they called it. Bring that back, reiterate it, make it look nicer. Maybe instead of just having, I think it was 3 little areas you could slide up to increase your sound, expand it. Maybe make it like 5 areas where you can increase your sound depending on how you create in the circuit in the cover itself. Bring that back. Also, I want to see some kind of Surface Pro kind of like performance cover. Maybe a cover, we had the battery cover in the past where you attach that cover to it and it expands the battery life of your Surface Pro. I want them to bring out a new cover that expands the performance of the Surface. So right now, as you know, the Surface Pro does not really even have a full dedicated GPU. But imagine if the cover you could buy would add a GPU to it, or something along the lines of maybe with AMD, a very thin GPU. Even if it made it fatter, it'd be for those people who want more power, but they still want the Surface Pro form factor with it to tilt down and everything like that. Imagine bringing that in. I think they should bring that back. It's something really cool that they should do. Another thing they should do is obviously have that keyboard cover, right? The regular type cover that we have it in the colors that you have. They already have that. They made it well. I want them to make by default. I want them to add the type cover to the Surface packaging, because I really don't know anybody who purchases a Surface Pro and does not get a type cover with it. I think they should add the type cover in there and maybe kind of finagle the price a little bit, but I think they should add the type cover to it by default. It would just help. It doesn't even need to be with the one with the fingerprint. It can just be the simple type cover. It can be a simple color like gray or black, or just that's it. But definitely they need to, I feel like they should have the type cover by default with all Surface Pro devices, and even the Surface Go. They should have type cover by default with the Surface Go. One big thing that I want the Surface line to have is some kind of gaming component with it, because right now it is targeted towards just either casual or very professional people. But I think what they could do is, it'll kind of be like Surface Cross Xbox, but what they could do maybe is create a Surface device dedicated towards people who play games, or just dedicated to people who just want more power out of their Surface device. So I don't know what they call it, but I think what they should do is they should create a tower PC or do the Microsoft thing where right now you can tell they want to create new form factors, always have new form factors, new ways to use existing form factors. So maybe they could take something from the Surface Studio and then maybe bring that in and figure out a way to maybe partner with AMD with their Ryzen chipsets and have some kind of gaming Surface for gamers, something that you could guarantee yourself. Right now we have the Surface Book, but I think it only has the NVIDIA 1660. But what they should do is have a desktop style thing for people who want a Surface branded thing and play games on it. And it should have a bare minimum, in the future, it should have a bare minimum, the 3060, because I heard that's already has about 2080 Ti performance. So they should have the 3060, definitely have the 3060 in it. Or if they need to go the AMD route, they can do with the Radeon 9 built in, kind of just put laptop components into a Surface and just make it a full device, maybe something that you can even swap out things. But definitely kind of rambling on, but definitely do something for gamers. Do something that it'll be premium. It'll be something for the die-hard people who will buy Surface devices. And clearly we know they are people who exist. I know they exist. Considering people will buy the Duo, definitely put something for the gamers. Call it the Surface Play or something. I don't know, but do something for gamers. Increase the performance from just basic higher end productivity things to something that you can play a game on, like a game at not 4K. I don't expect 4K, but 1440p. Make it on par with the Xbox Series S in terms of performance, but in a PC style, and I'll be satisfied. Moving right along with one of the things that I just talked about recently in a past video, the Surface Neo. A lot of people were figuring out what could we do with the Surface Neo to make it attractive to people, like that people will want. I think what they should do, if they're gonna make the Surface Neo also for people productivity wise, right? I think what they could do is they could figure out some way with the Surface Neo to tailor it towards those people who work in IT, and you often have to lug around like a laptop and you have to hold it around to kind of plug into things. The Surface Neo obviously most likely won't have many ports on it, if any, other than the USB Type-C most likely. But if they can sneak in an extra Type-C port, that will be gold. If they can sneak in like a mini display port or anything like that, anything small, or just add another Type-C port to the side, that will be gold. Because in the IT crowd, if you want to do volume licensing for Surface, which a lot of people do, imagine just giving a fleet of Surface Neos out there that instead of carrying around a heavy laptop everywhere, and I know based off of working in IT that a lot of them carry around like a very, very heavy laptop. Imagine carrying that touchscreen Surface Neo device that folds open and it's clean, it looks cool, it looks professional. You can interact with it and you can still plug it into all the little things that you need to plug in when you need to troubleshoot stuff anywhere, whether it's in a data center or maybe even at a university that I used to work at. Imagine just that, the use case for the Surface Neo, not just being for people just like me who just wants a dual screen device or even a folding screen device, but you can also make it a little better for people who are working in the professional field where they need to plug it into a bunch of things to fix a bunch of things. Imagine doing that, because it already does emulation, it already does containerization for 64-bit and 32 apps. It's going to do that already. So imagine doing that for the professionals. It could be something major for enterprises that no longer want to, brand new startup enterprises at least, that no longer want to just lug around normal laptops. They could have multi-purpose devices, which is that Surface Neo. Now, my favorite thing to talk about, and you guys know the amount of videos that I've done on this particular device that a bunch of you probably already have, the Surface Duo. Now, what I talked about in the Let's Talk About series of the Surface Duo, and I'll put that whole playlist in the description box, what I talked about with it was what I wanted to see in Gen 2, right? In Gen 2, I want to see, or even some future generation, right? Because that's what this video is for. I want to see a Samsung DeX style, component. Something that I can plug with the USB Type-C port or a USB Type-C hub, plug it to any monitor, and I'll get, say, Windows 10X. Because that is closer to Windows 10 than Android, obviously. Let me plug that in and let me use it as a computer, an actual computer. Let me get a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse, give me mouse support, and let me be able to just manage, because Android already supports mouse and keyboard. Windows 10X most likely already supports mouse and keyboard, considering they're working on it right now for single screen devices first before they go dual screen, which is why it was delayed. So combine those together, and as I said before, combine it together, create a Windows 10X interface, the single screen experience, that when you plug it into a monitor or a computer or a TV or anything like that, you get a full desktop experience. So no matter where you're traveling, that Surface Duo can be your primary device for travel. You won't need to carry around a laptop. You won't need to carry around a bunch of other things, a tablet. Your Surface Duo will just do everything you need, and you'll still get the Surface Slim Pen support that you get with the Duo, and you'll still get the touchscreen Android apps and everything that you still get. You'll still get your apps. You'll still get just about everything that you could possibly want. You'll already have. So I just want to see some kind of Samsung DeX, some kind of desktop style interface for the Surface Duo. That would be awesome, and especially when plugging it in. I don't use DeX too much, but they do have wireless DeX now on the Note 10 Plus that I have. Wireless Windows 10X to a display or a computer, that would be the greatest thing I've ever seen from Microsoft. Fusing two ecosystems together, bridging the gap, it can make perfect sense. Now, going towards the monitor side of things, right now Microsoft sells a bunch of accessories. They sell keyboards and mice, all kinds of keyboards and mice, the Surface Arc mouse and a bunch of keyboards, premium, ergonomic, just a bunch of stuff. One thing that they need to throw in, and I know a lot of people mentioned it a long time ago when the Surface Studio first came out, people wanted the Surface Studio display, that nice display. They wanted it into a monitor. Keep the touchscreen, keep the little curvature where you can push it down. They wanted the Surface Studio also to have a monitor as well. And that's what I'm gonna say right here is Surface Studio, make that same form factor that you can, push it down and it does, so that you can use it as an easel and everything like that. Take all those components out of it, rip it out, and make a Surface Studio monitor for artists especially. Because imagine the pressure sensitivity, you can still use the Surface Pen stuff, so it'll let Surface Pen users, people be able to buy the Surface Pen not just for Surface devices, but for any of their devices that they buy the Surface Studio monitor or Surface monitor with. It still gets the crisp screen of, I think it was 3000 by 2000, so it's 3x2. They would get the surface thinness and quality and design wise, it would be beautiful. I really, probably the top thing on this entire list, I really want a Surface Studio monitor. Even if you're gonna charge maybe $2,000 for it, do something crazy like an Apple, or since you are Microsoft, maybe you'll make it $1,500. You make this thing $1,500, I will buy this day one. Day one, I will shell out $1,500 to buy that because I am an artist, I do draw stuff. And then also doing the app reviews, imagine being able to just use a 10-point multi-touch. And then if I want to bring out the Surface Dial as well, put it on there and I can use the dial full screen instead of a tiny screen, I could do that. Because one thing I just don't want to do is I don't want to get the Surface Studio, mainly because the components in it is very minuscule. It's more like laptop feeling in terms of components. It feels underpowered. I've tried it before and I've heard people try it. It felt underpowered. So I think they should create a Surface monitor or the Surface Studio monitor. Throw that into your lineup. You'll probably make a ton. I have no idea, but I think the market's out there for a really good studio monitor, considering Apple is doing it right now. You can compete with Apple in your own way. For professionals working at CNN or wherever they work, do that. And even if you want, maybe you could even make the screen even bigger. Maybe you could go even as far as, I think the Studio is 28 inches. Maybe you can make it a ridiculous size, like 32 inches or 35 inches, make an ultra wide. Something cool like that would be really cool. But other than that, that's pretty much all I want to see so far with the updates to the Surface lineup. These are all future things that I want to come out. They don't need to come out right away, next generation, next year, 2021. Just stuff I want to see them work on because I think they would work really well. The gaming one was a little, but I think overall it's something that would work for the Surface lineup, especially for the Duo stuff. The Duo and the Neo stuff, that could be the future, honestly. I could see that stuff being the future. Maybe we won't have a thing in the middle. Maybe we'll have just a single screen as the true future of the Duo and the Neo. But right now, those creases in the middle of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2 and everything, it doesn't work for me. But the Neo's form factor fixed a little, I heard the cracking USB-C port area because it's made of plastic, right, covering the USB-C port, and it's very thin. Either make it a little thicker so that you can make it reinforce it a little bit in Gen 2. Other than that, desktop style support for the Surface Duo. Make it Windows 10X desktop style support, and I'm sold. I won't need anything else. My mom won't need it. The Neo can be the device for either professionals or for people who really don't even need the full-fledged laptop experience. They just need something that they can get stuff done, use Word and type basic emails, but they don't mind touchscreen keyboard, which they also have a physical keyboard component to it. But yeah, ramble over, promise. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any suggestions too about what you think that they should bring out in the Surface lineup in the future, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, my name is Kwaku, and take care, everybody.